Welcome back to the Beyond the Bestseller podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Schuknecht, and today's guest is Julie. I did not ask you how to say your last name, Julie Coraccio. Did I get it?
100%, right on the
Awesome.
nose.
Awesome. Julie Coraccio, author of Clear Your Clutter Inside and Out. I am scared and excited at the same time to have this conversation. Because as soon as I saw it, I was like, "Ooh, man, this episode might call me out." So, Julie, tell me a little bit about your book. You actually have multiple books, but let's start with that one, and maybe you could tell us a little bit more about the others that you have. But tell me why you wrote this book and kind of how you help people with it.
Sure. So I was a podcaster like you for a decade. My podcast was called Clear Your Clutter Inside and Out. I made it to number 4 on iTunes in the
Wow.
leisure category and home. I started podcasting where it was kind of a little bit still in its infancy. And so I had written all these episodes and I thought, you know what, I really need to create a book regarding this because if I'm going to end the podcast, I know I'm visual. And so I like to have something in front of me and that works better. And I look at clutter a little bit differently than most people. So I want to first share my definition of clutter, and that's clutter that anything that prevents you from creating a home and life you love, right? That's it in a nutshell. And so in the book,
Does that mean that my clutter that is not preventing anything from being like the life and home I love that doesn't count as clutter?
I'm a little confused about that, how you're asking that. So, well, that's how I view it. So, for instance,
Okay.
if you have emotional clutter and you're getting angry all the time, as one example, then you're not living your best life, right? And so to
Sure.
me, that knee-jerk reaction of anger is emotional clutter. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yep.
So in the book, I talk about physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and I threw in an energetic bonus chapter because I know that can be a
Okay.
weird concept, but if you've ever walked into a room after an argument, you can feel that tension, or you've met a slimy politician and you want to like go take home and run and take a shower. So that's kind of dipping the toe in and did a chapter on that.
Nice. So, okay. So anything that prevents you from having the life and
Space
home that
that you
you,
love. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, so physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. So immediately I go to like just in general, I tend to kind of be a clutter collector. Um, I would say like my house is actually organized. Like if you ask me where anything is, I can go and I can find it, right? I know exactly where things are, but I tend to have like piles here and there and things that
Hmm.
like end up gathering. And I actually did in January, I did a challenge that was like a minimalist challenge.
Hmm.
So that was great because I got rid of a lot of stuff. It was like the goal of it was day one, you get rid of one item. And
Hmm.
it doesn't matter what you do, like
Right.
donate it, throw it away, whatever, but get it out of your house. Day two is two items, day three is three items, and then so on
All right.
through the
Yeah.
end of the month, right? So by the end of the month, you're like, I need 30 things today. After yesterday, I had 29 things. Actually, it ended up being a lot easier than I thought it was going to be because I just started each weekend. I would clean out a closet,
Hmm.
but I ended with kind of a lot of stuff still in this space in my house that I was like, well, I guess I'll tackle that next time. Like I'm not. So, anyways, I hold on to those things. But why do we hold on to those things?
Pardon, what was
Why
that
is
last?
that? Why do we hold on to those things? Why is that such a challenge for us?
It can be a number of reasons. I find that a lot of times people like to hold on to memories. Oh, that was a sweater I wore the first day I met my husband, right? And so it evokes this warm, lovely memory. People also will sometimes hold on to things that don't evoke good memories. So
Mm,
that is sometimes a fear of letting go. Like if I give my books away, will I lose that knowledge? Right. And then if you come from a scarcity mentality, even if you grew up really poor, what if I let this go? Am I going to have abundance again, or what's going to happen? So and that's what I do in the book is get a little deeper to try to tackle what's behind that.
so that's the physical clutter.
Yes.
Talk to me about the mental clutter. Let's go through each of the four items. So what is mental clutter? Because I didn't even think about this when I saw the cover of your book, and now I'm thinking, what is that? Like, what's in my brain that's cluttering it up? Like, what is that mental
Maybe
clutter?
you have insomnia. And that's, a lot of times we have insomnia due to what I call monkey mind or racing thoughts. To me, mental clutter, if you don't unplug, right? We're constantly on social media, and when do we take the time to get away from that? So different things of that nature. Are you uh, depression can cause clutter. That to me can be a part of a mental thing. You can't think clearly. Can you think clearly when you're in your space, for example? And then so clutter has a symbiotic relationship. So for the messy desk, messy mind, and if you clear your desk, you're going to clear your mind. And so I want people to also see that relationship, how everything fits together.
Okay. All right. Emotional. You talked a little bit about this already, but say more about that. What is the emotional clutter that we gather or hang on to?
Sure. I'm looking at what I've talked about so many different subjects, and I'll try to keep it narrow to this. So, for instance, how do you talk to yourself? When are you resilient? Or what's your emotional baggage, right? If you keep, I had a client once, and we had this really great first conversation. He said, I'm here because I'm getting a divorce, and this is my third wife. And so, as we were talking, what we discovered his pattern in those three relationships, right? And so I was like, what was your clutter? What are you bringing to the table? So you have to be able to understand what is my emotional baggage, right? If we don't heal that, we don't clear that emotional clutter, we're going to keep repeating the same mistakes. And
Okay.
jealousy is another one, right? Are you jealous all the time? I'm reading, I'm a big reader. I love to read, and so it's memoir month at the library. And so I did a little video about it. I'm not going to call out the person who did this as a famous person, but I use it as a great example because I'm like, she needs to heal. I'm like, I need to heal. You need to heal. We all need to heal. But in reading this book, she was still carrying emotional baggage from her first agent who did her wrong. I'm like, you have enough money for generations of your family to be taken care of. The fact that you're still stuck on this. And then, the thing that I talked about in the video was the worst thing I'd ever read in a memoir of someone. I don't even want to give any energy to it, but she felt someone had harmed her, and this person did not have a good ending. I'll just put it that way. And I thought, if you're equating like that in my mind, there's just no way to. That tells me again, you need to heal and dig deeper and do that. So it's when we want to create the life and space we love. We need to heal. That's a large part of it. And I also like to say a lot, awareness plus action equals change. So someone might come to me and say, I'm really stuck, but they don't know what is it that I'm stuck on or what is it that I need to change. And then we say, okay, this is what we do, but then we've got to take those first steps and move forward. You did that when you did your challenge. You're like, you know what? I got some clutter in here. I'm going to take this action and to move forward.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. And then the bonus, you said the spiritual clutter was the bonus.
No, energetic clutter is a
Oh,
bonus.
energetic. Right, right, right.
Because I
Okay.
know that that's
Okay.
kind of can be a little people are like, I'm not so
Woo
sure
woo.
about that.
A little bit
Yeah,
of
a
woo
little
woo
woo
for
woo.
people.
So yeah, but so that chapter kind of dips our toe in to kind of consider it.
Okay. Okay. So we'll get there. So let's talk about spiritual clutter. What is
Sure. So I'm
that?
gonna talked about embracing your authenticity and being yourself, gratitude, simplifying your life, taking stock of your life. That kind of gets back to the awareness plus action, right? I mean, am I where I want to be? What is it that I want to do in my life? And again, being aware, no one's perfect. So what are my faults? What is it that I need to change? Like I remember someone saying to me once that it was a long time ago when I was in my 20s and I was shocked. They thought I was aloof. And there are many things I would describe myself, but that wasn't it. And what it was I was shy, but they had interpreted that me being aloof. So that was wonderful feedback. I'm like, okay, we have to figure out in certain situations, how do you get over your aloofness so that people are, or your shyness that people could misinterpret? And then I talk about gossip because I think that's a big thing where we do a lot of gossip and, it's like reading the People magazine, checking out page 6 online. Like, how is that coming into your life? And maybe that's serving as a distraction and how can we be better and maybe let that gossip go?
Okay. And energetic. So
How your
I
space feels.
okay.
Everything's
Okay.
energy, right? And so let's just talk if you have a lot of physical clutter. If you look at that, that's kind of has that stuck, stagnant energy. If you walk into a room that's clean and clear and organized, you're going to be, oh, yeah. But if it's jammed with a lot of clutter, like your bedroom has it, how are you going to be able to sleep, right? Because that energy, it's heavy, it's hanging, right? That makes sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I think my problem is when I have all that stuff, I'm like, it's decisions I have to make about things, right? So it's like I said, I know exactly where all the things are. I have this like loft in my house, and that's where like all the stuff gets collected. And every time I look at it, I'm like, okay, if I'm going to tackle any of this, it's not going to be a quick 30-minute clean stuff up. Like, it's like, what am I doing with this sewing machine? Am I ever going to use it again?
Right.
By the way, it's broken. Probably I'm not going to ever use it again. I haven't really used it in about 20 years that I've had it. Right? But I have to
Right, but
decide to
you need to
do
put it in your
something with it.
calendar, right? Just like you would about this appointment of having a podcast interview. And people say, "Oh, Julie, I don't have time." And I say, "How much have you spent on social media?"
Right.
And one of the
We have
things I
time.
encourage people to do just for a week, track your uh, your social media. Now I know on my iPhone now it does it. It tells me how much
Right.
time did you spend reading the news, how much time on social media. So that makes it easy, so there's no excuse, and you can be like, okay, you know what, if I did that all the time, then I can devote an hour, right,
I know.
to doing
I
that. And
know.
then, set yourself up for success, so you have boxes ready or sturdy bags for what I'm going to donate, what needs repaired, what goes in another room, right? And then maybe you also, if it's challenging for you, and I share some in the book, have a list of questions that you can ask yourself, right? If you're like, oh, I don't know if I can let this go. Okay, here are 20 questions I can ask myself. And, the more you do that and muscle, right, the easier it becomes. You just need to exercise it. But it's devoting the time to it and then challenging yourself and reminding yourself, what is it costing you? You have your clutter's at the back. This is from physical. Your physical clutter at the back of your brain, and it drains you. You might not be aware of it. Like an example I used, I was living in Los Angeles and didn't have a cell phone. And someone hit me on the freeway. There's this West Virginia gal out in this big old Los Angeles, and I didn't have a cell phone. And after that, I was like, I have got to get a cell phone because that entire time before I got one, I'm like, what if that happens again? It was creating anxiety for me. And, your clutter can create anxiety. And, you mentioned about making decisions, right? And I like to call the garage the land of delayed decisions. I don't know what to do with that. I'm going to put it in the garage. And maybe it's the basement or the attic for someone. And so,
Yep.
and I was called indecisive one in college, so you can learn, again, another muscle that you can stretch. You can learn how to make decisions, but I'm going to encourage people to work on that. And then a lot of times it's that fear. Well, what if I give that away, right? Am I going to need it someday? That's a big one. And what I say to that is trust that you'll get what you need when you need it. Can you have faith in God, the universe, whatever it is that practice, that you'll get what you need? And that sometimes is helpful. Okay, you know what? I'm going to trust that I can maybe ask my neighbor to borrow a rake, or I can borrow it from a co-op or something. That just know that there are different options out there.
Yeah. So my loft is definitely my land of what did you say?
Indecisions,
Indecisions. Yes.
yes, or delayed decisions.
Delayed decisions. Yes, that is it. So yeah, when I finished the January challenge, I part of what I did was I had like a bin
Hmm.
where whenever I would go anywhere in the house and I would see something that I could donate, I would throw it in that bin. And then that
Good.
way on the day, like each day I would like pull things out of that bin and go, okay, this is going in trash.
Ah,
This is going.
very good.
um so yeah, so I did that. However, the bin is still sitting in my loft. It's July. I did this. Well, we're recording in July. This probably won't come out until later in the year. But to give you perspective, 7 months after my challenge, that bin is still sitting in my loft, full of stuff. Because I did the challenge. Every single day I got rid of the things I was supposed to get rid of. But then I kind of had this leftover pile of stuff that I was like, okay, I'm just going to keep going down this, path and
Hmm.
like keep
Hmm.
doing this. right? But then I just kind of stopped doing it. So yes, okay. So I'm gonna put that on my calendar because I think it would actually be not very overwhelming if I just said, okay, every Saturday I'm gonna spend 1 hour clearing out something in that loft, right? And so 1 hour is not that big of a deal on the weekend. You can find an hour sometime
Absolutely.
and then just like tackle one little thing like that stupid sewing machine I'm telling you about. Whatever, I can like visualize that entire loft and tell you all the different like little piles of things I have. And I'm not like a hoarder by any means, but I just have like these piles. And I think the papers are the ones that get me the most. Like I have a pile of papers that's like I have to decide, is this going somewhere? Do I have a place to
Hmm.
put it? Do I need to save this thing? And those are the things, it just makes me nuts because I'm not good at deciding what to do with those things. So yes, that's my land of delayed decisions. That's
But if
like,
you spend an hour a weekend, because like what I tell people, give me 10 minutes a day. You can't do 10 minutes a day, give me an hour a weekend. You've done 60 hours in a year. You can declutter a lot in 60 hours.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's okay to take a break. But the thing is, do you spend time? We have downsized twice. I used to, before I met my husband, I would declutter every year. But because I've done major stuff, a year of declutter is like, bam, it goes by quickly. Just do it room by room. I'm doing my office right now. Got the closet done, so then like I'll do a bookcase tomorrow. That books are the hardest thing for me to let go of, but
Yep.
doing it, chunking it out, and then making it happen. But the challenge is people haven't decluttered in 10, 20, 30 years, and I just want to tell people listening, your kids don't want your stuff. The kids
Yeah.
that are younger than us are living a much lighter footprint and they don't want to deal with it. So, I feel sorry for people. What was it I read the other day? Someone thought it was a collectible and Beanie Babies maybe, or something that they thought was going to be a ton of money. Nothing. Nothing. It's, I mean,
Yeah.
hundreds of these.
Yeah, I have a few bobbleheads in my house from baseball games. So yeah, I know. Um, all right, so I knew this episode was going to call me out a little bit, but it's good. I'm going to put a note in my loft that says, whatever, something about like this is the land of delayed decisions, and remind myself that I need to just start making decisions up there. I don't know about the like so physical. So we're talking heavily on the physical side. Mental, I would imagine some of that would be like journaling to kind of get some of that out of your head, right? Or like what are the approaches to because it's not as easy to like understand what is mental clutter and how do I tackle it. So how do you help people on that
Sure.
part of it?
Well, I'll talk momentarily. So I created a whole journal prompt series. I have 12 journal prompt books that deal with that. And so I talk about specific examples because you know what's best for you. I don't. I view my job, if I'm working with someone, as bringing that brilliance to the surface. But why I created the journal prompt books was so you can figure out for yourself that's increasing your awareness. And so I did the journal prompt books a little bit differently than anything I've seen. So I have a little line with the lotus. So you answer the question, and then I ask you, because a lot of times when people have clutter, they're overwhelmed. So once you answer the question, I ask you to go back through and pull out to the side what was most important. Because sometimes if we're journaling, we might like blah, 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 blah. Okay, like let's then bring back the focus. What was most important for me to learn about myself and that question? And so mental clutter, like being present, right? A lot of times we're in the past. Oh, why didn't I say this? Or we're in the
Mm,
future. Oh, is it going to work out with this guy? Is he the one, right? But our point of power is in the present moment, right? Because I can change. I can create my reality. I can do what I want. Because when we're anywhere but the present, then we're not creating change and being
mm-hmm.
mindfulness. And I am a firm believer in having some sort of mindfulness practice. For me, mowing the lawn is mindful. I love the smell of fresh cut grass. It brings me very present. I feel like I can do a brain dump and just let things go. For other people, that's going to be meditation. I have a friend that listens to classical music, right? Whatever it is that we need to clear that mental clutter.
Yeah, great. I mentioned that you have other books earlier. Yeah, I'm looking right now at you've got the 365 journal prompts you mentioned that kind of goes along, looks
Mhm.
similar, like kind of goes along with your main book. what are the others? So you've got, do you have two?
And then I have a
Two?
21-day challenge. And that's like, if you're like, Julie, I am super overwhelmed, bam, we're going to do 21
Okay.
days. It's super easy, but we look at all areas. And that's to kind of jump start your
Okay.
decluttering. And then I have a workbook with this. And this goes is more hand holding and going into detail. And the workbook helps you write all your answers as you go along. So it's
Great.
more detail oriented. If you're like, you know what, I really need you to just kind of guide me through this in a little more detail, then that's what that does.
Great. Yeah, I love the journal prompts. I am always looking for good journal prompts because that I love. I actually really like journaling, but I struggle with the like, what do I talk about today, or how do I approach this today,
Yes.
And so I'm always looking for good things that just get me thinking, get me started, right? 'Cause that's the hardest part, like just getting started, and then once you get into it, like
Hmm.
it flows from there. At least for me. Okay, so that's the mental. What about the emotional? How do you help people? Because I think, I guess, as you were talking about some of that, I think about like people not being aware of their emotional baggage or the things that are like, so how do you help them identify, and maybe some of that's also through the journaling, but what other ways can people identify some of the emotional clutter that is impacting them?
Sure. Like, so we touched briefly on anger. Like, do you have knee-jerk reactions? But are you always crying? Are you always upset? Are you easily offended? Right? And if you're struggling to see that, then ask a good friend. Like, hey, what have you noticed? Like, someone said to me, you get angry. I'm like, I'm living in Los Angeles. Of course, I'm going to be angry driving all the time. Right? But I had to say, okay, that's not, I'd never had any road rage things. But if you're unsure, then asking someone, is it, where is it that, I can improve that and becoming aware. Like I've known people that like haven't been aware that they're kind of in a low grade depression, right? Not like I've got to go to the clinic or I moved back to my hometown and I'm like I'm too old for this, but I've encountered mean girls. And it's just I'm like in the lack of awareness in women in their 50s, 60s and 70s astounds me and it makes me sad. But it's like you're going to criticize me and try to shame me in front of other people and you don't think I'm going to respond to that. And so things like it's if you lack the self-awareness, don't beat yourself up. It's more common than you think. And that's what gets me excited. I want people to become more mindful and aware because when you heal, I heal. When I heal, you heal. And we need that now more than ever, in my view, in this world. And so if we are happy and whole and we're doing things we love, then we don't want to go to war with someone. We don't feel the need to take from you or to have all the toys in the world, right? That's coming from a place that's unhealed.
Yeah, so all of these things take kind of a, I mean, it's not the self-awareness, but like the willingness to change, or the maybe just awareness that something needs to change, even if you're not
Yes,
totally aware of
yes.
like what it is, right? Like,
Yeah,
so anyone who I think is reading your book, or doing using your workbook, your journal prompts, any of those things, like they're at least open to like something in my life needs to
absolutely.
be different. Yeah.
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
that I think puts you in the mindset of being more self-aware, or open to
It
maybe
just takes
feedback or
that
like
first
learning.
step, right? You just take
Yeah.
that first step to move forward, and I believe the universe, God, whatever rises up to meet you and will
Yeah.
put in front of you what you need.
Yeah. All right. So the last one, kind of, we have the energy one too, but the spiritual clutter. So how do you help people become more aware of that and be, just know what they need to focus on there?
So I always tell people, like, look at your social media posts. Like, that was another. Someone said, your social
Okay.
media parts when I first joined Facebook, which was ages ago, I'm not negative. What are you talking about? And then I went back, I went, ooh, I am kind of negative on these. Why am I always complaining, right? Am I always complaining? Do I have gratitude? Am I able to forgive? Is someone spending time in my head rent free, right? Again, it's back of that, or if I get upset, or am I doing what I love? Or am I like, oh, it's Monday, and every morning like, oh, I just don't want to get out of bed. I mean, to me, that's a huge like, you're not following your passion. You're not, and I want to say, you do not have to have your passion be your work because, there are, I think, wonderful artists out there that are shy, that aren't going to get the social media, but don't stop painting, don't stop writing, right? Doing that. I've worked and owned a business and found the time to write. Don't be upset with yourself if it's not where you want it to be. But again, like that 10 minutes, if you want to write your book, you spend 10 minutes a day, that's 60 hours. You can get a lot of writing done in that amount of time.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Uh, all of those things are, again, just like things you have to be willing to focus on and commit to, and practice in some way. Like, so I definitely like the idea of the 10 minutes a day or like maybe 15 minutes a day, because that almost feels better to me than the 1 hour in the weekend kind of thing, because that's pretty easy. Like I can wrap
Yes.
up my day, eat dinner, and then go, okay, like before I sit down on the couch, I'm going to spend this 15 minutes doing one of those things, and just go up to my loft and start cleaning, start clearing things out, whatever. So I like that. I think I'm going to put that on my calendar,
Excellent.
Julie. That's going to be my evening practice.
Well, in my book, I have little little things throughout the book, and of course, I can't find one as I'm looking, but little like to keep you going and just to motivate you, and that little visual break. So I think that just you need that reminder, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's not easy to do this work, but what I found, and prior to starting my own business, I had an internet TV show where I'd interview body, mind, spirit experts, and they would guinea pig me and like read my book and do the exercises. But everyone I talked to, and I share this from personal experience as well, it is so much harder to hold on to whatever it is that's going in your life and not heal than it is to walk through the fire and heal. It really is.
Mm,
I didn't realize until I moved forward how much I was holding on in my body, in my
yeah.
heart, in my head, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, going through this fire is a piece of cake compared to holding it all in." Or being or distracting myself with emotional eating or whatever, or not wanting to look at it, or being afraid of what was behind the curtain. And it's like, "Nah, you're resilient. You can do this."
Yeah, yeah. I forgot another thought I had when you were talking about the social media piece is, what you put out there, like how that can, uh, you can look at what you're posting and see if you can start to identify that tone.
Yeah.
But one of the things I've heard people say is like they hate social media because, everything's fake, or like people will have comments on things that whatever, so they'll avoid social media because of that. And I love social media personally, so like it's, to me, I'm always like, I'm never going to just give up social media. That's not going to happen. But the one thing I have done for many, many years is when somebody is irritating me on social media, I block them, right? Like I will either, and they could even be friends in my life, but if I yeah, if they're commenting, like I've had people comment on things that I posted in with judgmental reactions to things, and I'm just like, you know what? You're not going to be part of my social media world. Like I'm just not going to do it. You're not going to. So when I say block them, I just make it where they can't see the posts that I'm putting out there, because I'm not going to let you comment on it. You're just ruining my day when you do it. And so for anyone who is, if that's affecting your mental health, when people are doing that, like just block people. You have the control to do that.
Yeah, I it used to be like, oh, and because I moved back to my hometown, I'm like, oh, I've known you since I was 6, but I was like, I'm done, block.
Yeah.
There are certain lines, and I'd be like, oh, maybe they'll get better, maybe they'll recover. No, I'm done with you. So block, 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 block.
Yep.
And I
Yeah.
mean, that's a mental health. I mean, that's a relationship clutter, mental clutter, emotional. It's all of it, a ton of it.
Yep. Yeah. And it's not worth it. And you have the control. So take it and don't let those people get through to you, because if you don't like social media, don't be on it. But like when I hear people say that about why they give up social media, I'm like, you can control it.
Yeah,
Not 100%, because there's always going to be those people that
right.
come out of nowhere, and, but you can start training your social media to get those people out of your, out of your world.
Out of your energy field,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes. So, all right, Julie. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your book. I will link to Clear Your Clutter in the show notes. What about other ways that listeners or viewers can find out more about you online and get in touch with you if they're interested in learning more?
Sure, thank you. So if they go to reawakenyourbrilliance.com, has my social media. Although I retired the podcast a couple years ago, it's still available. It's still being downloaded, and it's on YouTube. So they can check that out as well. And I've got links to that on reawakenyourbrilliance.com as well, too.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Julie. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Kelly. I appreciate it.
Looking for a community of women writers to support and inspire you on your journey? Join the Author Power Circle. Connect weekly with fellow authors, stay accountable, and move your book forward in an encouraging community. Learn more at kellyshuckneck.com